Call of Duty Vanguard is finally here, and I could not be happier that it is. Warzone and Rebirth Island has been getting pretty stale. And I made sure to stay up to the midnight release to play this game for a few hours and get a feel for what it is all about. So these are going to be my first impressions of the game, and by the end of this video, hopefully it can answer a question you're probably wondering, do I bother even buying it? And to help answer that question, I'm going to be going through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Call of Duty Vanguard. Now, when I say the good, I'm talking about the things that I liked about the game. When we talk about the bad, I'm talking about things that I just didn't really care for. And then when we talk about the ugly, it's things that are broken and need to be fixed ASAP. So let's work our way backwards so we can end on a high note with the good, which means we are starting with the ugly. And in my experience, the most ugly thing about this game so far is that I think we're back to dev errors. Not even an hour and a half into playing this game for the first time, my game froze, audio cut out, and a message came up saying the game had crashed. So if we're trying to make good first impressions here, that didn't help. But after bringing the game back up, I played for about the same amount of time I played before it crashed, and it did not crash again. I do worry that it will happen again at some point. Time will tell, but it's something I did experience, so something worth noting, and it's a big thing worth noting because it can definitely ruin your experience. The second ugly thing about this game that needs to be fixed right now is something that a teammate of mine, as well as someone in my chat, have experienced, and that is the fact that they can't access their camos. They stay locked and they can't use them. And the reason I feel like this is such a big deal and belongs in the ugly category that needs to be fixed ASAP is that camo grinds are a thing. People love to grind for camos. It's sometimes the only reason they play multiplayer or even bother buying the game at all. But you can't flaunt that fancy skin if you can't access them. And if this isn't fixed ASAP, I feel like they'll lose interest in the game pretty quickly because if you can't use it, why bother? I'm not too worried about it though. It is release night, so I'm sure it will be fixed soon. But I felt it was worth mentioning because some people have experienced it. I haven't personally, but some people have, so you may as well. Now let's move on to the bad things that I don't necessarily love, but I can live with, I guess. The first thing is audio. The audio still isn't great. I definitely think it is a bit improved, but the one thing that I don't love in particular, and this is something that is in Warzone as well, is the footsteps. You still can't really hear footsteps from enemies all that well. Like I said, I definitely think it is a bit better, but I still think there's a long way to go until I'm completely comfortable trusting footstep sounds. Another thing I don't love, and this is mainly geared towards controller players, is your dead zone. The values you used to set for your dead zone in prior Call of Duties is now different, so I'm still trying to mess around with it, find what works best for me. I know it worked for me in previous Call of Duties based on their values. However, like I said, this one's different. So it's something that I have to now kind of find a sweet spot for. I still don't know which one I love best, but it is a minor thing, something I will eventually figure out, which is why it is in the bad category, something I can live with because at some point I will figure it out. Another thing that I do not love are the camos. We were just talking about the camos and how you can't access them. And honestly, even if you can access them, they're not all that great. I was definitely a little disappointed by this, and really there's only one skin in the game that I feel like most people will like across the board. That is the atomic skin. Basically just like Modern Warfare's Damascus and the color scheme, however, it is animated. So the animated part of it is pretty cool and it does look pretty sweet, and I'm pretty excited to get it someday, but pretty much everything else in between is kind of an L. Another thing I don't love about this game is the operators. All the basic skins are, well, pretty basic. And you do level them up to get them to look a little bit more unique, a little cooler. However, just like the camos, all the in-betweens are less than ideal. Another bad thing that I don't like about this game involving the gameplay is there has been issues with packet loss. I wasn't the only one that experienced this. It seemed like everyone in the lobby was experiencing some sort of packet loss to some degree all throughout the night. As of recording this, it was opening night. This was kind of expected, and I'm sure it will be fixed in the future. However, if you experience some packet loss, just know you're not alone. The next point that I'm going to talk about is for all my drop shotters out there. If you love the drop shot and it is your claim to fame, is how you're able to finesse all of your enemies, you can no longer do that. So if you are standing up straight and ADS in any direction at all, and then you proceed to drop shot, it will then automatically unzoom in your weapon. You'll go to hip fire, and then once you lay down completely, you will go back into your ADS motion. I like to drop shot here and there. I don't abuse it, but I like to use it in certain scenarios, and now not being able to have it at all is kind of a bummer. And the last thing in the bad category is the TTK. Based on my experience so far, I feel like the TTK is rather high. I would prefer it to be a little bit lower so I have a little bit more time to react when I'm getting shot at, but right now, I simply don't. If you get caught out by someone that you didn't know was there, you're getting shot in the back or the side or wherever you didn't expect to get shot from, you will have zero time to react and try to fight back. You're pretty much instantly dead. And although it does suck being on the receiving end of that, if you're on the other end, it feels pretty good. So it goes both ways, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have a longer time to kill. But thankfully, in my experience so far, not everything about this game is bad. In fact, I think most things about this game is actually pretty good. First, let's talk about the visuals of the game. Color-wise, it seems like there's, well, actually color. Not all maps seem that way. Some are pretty much in that brownish, grayish, darker tone. But there are other maps that have a good amount of color to them, are pretty vibrant, saturated, and easy to see. And it is definitely a welcomed sight. And one thing that I noticed with the beta version is that with the sun, it was, well, terrible. Didn't render in screen well at all, and it was just super annoying and always in the way. But they seem to have polished this pretty well, and it's never really distracting, and you barely notice it's there at all. So huge W on that account, and something that I feel like they definitely need to incorporate into Warzone. And although in the bad section I mentioned how the footsteps weren't great, I still think there are some things about the audio that are good. One of those things simply being just the sound of the guns. It's very satisfying hearing the gun shoot. And when you get hit markers with these guns, it sounds different than prior Call of Duties. It's a little bit softer sound, it's not as hard on the ears, and altogether it's pretty satisfying. And sticking with audio, one thing I'm actually super excited about is the fact that if you go into your audio tab and go down to where you have voice chat, you can set a designated path for the in-game voice chat. In prior Call of Duties, there was no tab for this. Your game sound and voice chat was mixed into one. So if you were a streamer, there was no way to separate the two. However, now there is a way to separate the two. My headset has two channels, one for voice and one for game. So this is a huge W and something they should have had all along, but I'm happy they have it now. Now let's move on to movement. Movement in this game feels buttery smooth. I love it actually. It is very similar to Modern Warfare, which is, well, a good thing considering they're going to integrate this game into Warzone. It is not exactly the same, however, it is definitely very close, and like I said, it feels pretty smooth. Now let's talk about the maps. There are 20 maps on release, because that in and of itself is a huge W. Now, of course, not all the maps are winners. There's definitely some that are more annoying than others that I just don't understand and just don't like at all, but for the most part, I think they're pretty decent. And as time goes on in natural Call of Duty fashion, they will add more in the future. So even if you don't like half of these, there's still 10 maps that you could vibe out to and play right away. So big W on the variety of maps straight out of the gate. And one thing that I like about these maps is that they added some areas that you can destruct. It's basically just a variety of different types of walls that you can break through, but it's something we didn't have before in Call of Duty, and it's pretty cool to have it now. Another big W about this game is the sheer amount of weapons on drop. I think there's about 38 weapons overall, and on each and every one of those weapons, you can add 10 attachments. Yes, you heard that right. 10. It is a little overwhelming at first, but the fact that you can customize it to pretty much any way you please means that there'll probably be so many different variations of different weapon metas out there, and it's going to make for a healthy and balanced game. At least I hope. Time will tell, but the opportunity is definitely there with the way that they've structured this. And one thing that I will note about attachments in this game is that it does seem your ammo attachments are what will make or break your gun. Certain ammo types will make your gun a pea shooter, and others will make it absolutely shred. So that's just one thing to be mindful of. So after all that, it's time to answer the big question, and that is, should you buy this game? And my simple answer is yes. I do think you should buy this game, especially for those who play Warzone. The only reason I regretted not buying the newest Black Ops is because I could not grind for a camo and I could not rank guns fast. So when new guns came out and everyone had it built to be the new meta, I was way behind because I couldn't rank it fast in Warzone. there are different game modes within Warzone that you could use to rank the gun somewhat fast, but nothing is faster than multiplayer. So I would say that would be reason enough to buy the game. But honestly, even if you don't play Warzone at all and you're just a multiplayer grinder, I still think this game is worth buying. It is a lot of fun, it is very refreshing, and it is something that I can see myself playing for quite a while. So if you are on the fence of if you wanted to buy this game or not, I hope you found this video helpful. And if in case you guys are new around here and wondering where I stream over on my main channel, which I'll have linked down in the description down below if you ever want to catch one of my live streams. And if you want to see more content just like this, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that way you don't miss any of my videos. And past that, that's all I have for this one. I'll catch you in the next one.